This game's existence still ticks me off a little bit. So for some background, back in mid to late 2022, I had just finished up Paper Mario Color Splash for the Wii U. That was one of the last 2 Paper Mario games I hadn't beaten up until that point. I played the original through the Wii U's Virtual Console, I got my copy of Super Paper Mario at Kmart for $15, Sticker Star, and I played the Origami King a couple months after it came out. So after I had finished Color Splash, there was only one left. Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door, which is widely considered to be the best in the whole series. And not only was it extremely popular, it was extremely expensive. A full complete in-box copy with all the manuals and inserts would easily go for over $100. After about a week of bidding and making offers on eBay, I managed to get this copy for $70. It doesn't have the manual or anything, which is fine, I guess. And we fast forward to a little under a year later, and you gotta be kidding me. A full remake of Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door was announced. I'm still a little annoyed, even after over a year, to be honest. This isn't the first time this has happened to me either, although this is easily the worst example of it. Enough of my sob story though, this isn't America's Got Talent, let's get to the content you actually came here for. Which is better, Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door for the Nintendo GameCube or Paper Mario The Thousand Year Door for the Nintendo Switch? Since these games literally have the exact same title, I'll just be referring to them by which console they're on. I'll call them the GameCube version and the Nintendo Switch version respectively. And as per usual, the games will go up against each other in 5 categories: box art, gameplay, visuals, music, and performance. Starting with the box art. Box art is a category I don't think I've ever done before, and considering how drastically different the box arts between the 2 games are, I thought now would be the best time to introduce it, unless I've already done it before and I forgot. I don't really think the GameCube versions is that great. It doesn't do anything wrong necessarily, it's just really boring to look at. And the main color of the box being this doesn't really help. And am I the only one that thinks the character placement is just weird? Like, why isn't this guy over here with the rest of the bosses? It just feels like they slapped random pictures of the characters and called it a day. Although that's exactly what I do with my thumbnails, but that's besides the point. The Switch version's box art isn't entirely new though. For the GameCube version, I was only talking about the non-Japanese cover art. The Switch version is a recreation of the Japanese GameCube cover art, which is way better in my opinion. I just think it does a better job showing things from the game. It shows the stage, the audience, and characters that are actually important. And if you carefully look at the left of the cover, it looks like the spine of a book, which I think is a nice touch. And I prefer the main color being red instead of the color of the walls of a smoker's house. The gameplay is very similar. The controls are nearly identical, the only thing it would come down to is which controller you prefer. However, the Switch version has a bunch of little improvements, like making it quicker to switch which partner you're using and making the backtracking less painful. It's still painful, but it's not as painful. Since the Switch version only added things and those things are good, I'm gonna give it the point. Both look good for what console they're on, although I don't think either are mind-blowing necessarily. The GameCube version looks good for what console it's on. I'm honestly just surprised they didn't upscale the GameCube version for the Switch and charge $60 for it. I think it would have looked fine, but instead they went for the full remake approach. The Switch version goes for a weird shiny look that I'm not sure whether or not I like. The game is obviously clearer now being in HD, and I'm going to give the remake a point again because at this very moment I like the way it looks. That could change by the time I upload this. The music between the 2 is drastically different, and I honestly think the GameCube soundtrack is pretty mediocre. I don't think any of it is bad, just none of it sticks out to me. And to be completely honest, I think it's probably the weakest Paper Mario soundtrack. Now the remake uses the same musical style as Paper Mario The Origami King, which is probably my favorite Mario soundtrack at the moment. And every area gets a unique remix for the battle theme. There's also some completely new stuff in there too. And if you absolutely hate the new music, you can just switch it to the original soundtrack pretty easily. The GameCube version hasn't been doing too great, to put it lightly. However, it's about to get its first and only point. It runs at a consistent 60 frames per second, while the Switch version runs at 30 frames per second. Now, I don't really care if a game runs at 30 frames per second as opposed to 60, but the remake doesn't even run that consistently. It's not terrible or anything, but it stuttered every once in a while, especially when there was a lot of characters on screen at once. So just because it runs at a higher frame rate and is consistent, the GameCube version will get a point. Good for it. So the Switch remake clearly won. It doesn't matter though, I'm just going to play the games people don't even like.
Bye.